and welcome to Gamers Table, a podcast discussion of tabletop role-playing games, war games, movies, books, and various other game-related topics. Be warned, this show contains some explicit material that may not be suitable for all audiences.
Hello and welcome to Gamers Table. My name is Eric.
This is Mike.
This is Dan.
This is Mark.
This is Jason.
And I'm Sean.
This episode we're going to talk about maps.
Maps.
I was going to say, can we get more vague?
Maps.
Well, I think
we're going to talk about gamer geography.
No, the Cairn Hills are due west.
I don't think we're going to go into that
Not
much detail.
specific.
This whole podcast is going to be, can we get Mike pissed on Mike?
That sounds like a challenge.
I've done that. I mean, not on Mike, but I've pissed Mike off quite a bit.
So I think we were all pretty much in agreement that a map is a vital component to role-playing games.
Absolutely.
And I'm not talking about just like a world map or a country map. I mean, even dungeon maps.
Dungeon maps. I like town and city maps in particular.
Yeah. But that's probably, I agree. That's probably my favorite is a city.
Where
oh my
it
God.
enhances. Especially if you play like a city-based campaign or something in the city, and you don't have a visual representation of that city, you could say, okay, I go to such and such street, or the game master goes, well, you can go to such and such street and do this. It really doesn't give you any. I mean, you'd have to have a really descriptive game master to explain the layout of a city and your position in it without a map. You know?
I think you ran a Shadowrun with a road map of Seattle at one point, didn't you?
I tend to use, for anything that's contemporary, I would use like an actual map or an atlas.
I think we did do that when Mike ran Shadowrun in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I know we used
like a Rand McNally or whatever map of St. Louis.
But I think for me, I mean, we started playing in the 7th grade. I don't think I really was sold on the game. I mean, we only played pretty much at lunch every day. I mean, I don't really remember playing outside of school until the summer after 7th grade. And that was actually the first time I'd ever been to Mike's house, even though I'd known him since kindergarten. And it was the first time I'd been to your apartment, which wasn't too far from Mike's place.
Where are you going with this?
I was saying,
I'm just saying.
the exact same thing.
Setting up the background.
No, that was when we were going to play. You know, we were going to play it. I think we were going to play at your apartment for the first time.
Remember, we're talking about maps here.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But that's where I'm getting to.
We needed a map.
We're also talking about gamer history.
I walk in the door at Eric's apartment, and laid out on the table are the Darlene maps.
Which are?
The Greyhawk maps, the World of Greyhawk.
The original World of Greyhawk maps.
Right. It's the first time I'd seen them.
It's like a Holy Grail. Oh.
Pretty much. I mean, I'd been playing for almost a year up to that point, but as soon as I saw those Darlene maps, I wanted to know what every hex had on it, you know, what all it involved.
Yeah, there are people who are really into maps, and two of them are sitting at this table. And then there are those who really don't care that much. But, you know, some people who are really into maps, you show them a map and they want to go, they look at it and go, well, what is this? And what is this over here? And what does this mean? What the hell is the egg of Coot? You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
Where's the map key?
What is the egg of Coot?
That could be a whole other episode.
I have a confession to make about maps.
Okay.
Actually, it's as much a confession about GURPS as anything. And part of the reason why I'm always pushing GURPS is because they have the Discworld source book. And in my opinion,
I'm sold.
The greatest map in the history of maps that have ever been made.
Now you've got my
I've got to see this map.
Is the map of Ankh-Morpork. Park.
Okay.
And it is great. If
Now,
you saw this map, you would want to play in this city.
I'm sure you just totally mispronounced that, and we're going to hear about it on the internet.
Ankh-Morpork. That's how.
Okay.
That's the name of the city.
It just didn't sound. I have no idea what word it is you're trying to pronounce.
You have Ankh on one side, it's divided by a river, and Morpork on the other.
Okay.
So that's my hidden secret agenda to GURPS.
It's that the map of this city sold you in for that setting, and then GURPS.
Well, no, I love the Discworld books.
Okay.
And
So do I.
there's so much content there that can be mined. You know, because I mean, it's a lighthearted fantasy. Make no mistake, it's comedy fantasy.
I've never read.
You would dig it the most.
Is this Terry Pratchett?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And
But
Now, would you describe...
I love the Discworld stuff so much that I once pissed off my gaming group in college by magically transporting our L5R characters to Discworld.
Damn.
I don't want to hear about your homebrew.
Yeah, don't tell me about your homebrew. Actually, we're now.
Homebrew is out.
We're not
as far
using
as I'm
that word
concerned
anymore. Never
because
again.
homebrew indicates low quality. I think we should call it microbrew because
Microbrew?
a microbrew beer is a high quality, small, like artisan
Not like
brand.
Not like
If it's done
Jason's
well.
bathtub mead.
Exact big difference there. That would be homebrew. Right.
Yeah, this from the guy who drank it and said it was good. That was you,
I
Dan.
appreciated it for what it was until you told me there was glass in it.
There wasn't any glass in it.
There had been glass in it. But
Okay.
that's all. That's
Mike,
a whole other-
Mike I
other
think,
thing.
was trying to make a point.
I already
When?
forgot it.
Oh.
This is Mike's episode, man.
It's true.
So far, he hadn't said a word.
I'm just waiting for the topic on maps to start.
What? we're talking
He's waiting
about
for
maps.
the tangent to be
We're
over.
still sidetracked.
No, we're talking about maps.
No, but GURPS Discworld, I'm in. Just
Would you
agree.
describe the Discworld maps as a artistic map or a utility map?
Artistic, given the nature of the world itself. I mean, the one I have is a thing of beauty.
And there is a distinct difference. I think the Darlene maps, when I look at them originally, I think that those are utility maps. But then
Because there's nothing complicated about
right,
it at all.
but the more you really appreciate the style that the artist, the cartographer used, it is more of an art map than a utility map, I think.
I mean, to me, the Darlene maps are almost it's supposed to put you in mind of an ancient map, like something that was drawn on an animal skin. It's intentionally made vague so that you can fill in those details, which is one way I love to hear Greyhawk described as an empty canvas, and you get to fill it in.
There was, I don't remember when it was, but there was a time where they had these huge fold-out maps for, like, Forgotten Realms.
Oh yeah, I love those.
Those
and
were,
those were incredibly detailed.
Road maps.
Yeah.
Those things were incredibly detailed,
Yeah.
and I liked them. It's just there really was no utility for them. You'd have to cut them into pieces because there's no way you could use these huge maps without tearing them up.
Well, if you put the Darlene maps and the Forgotten Realms maps next to one another, it would almost make Greyhawk seem to be tiny. And I think that's probably
Well, that's just scale.
well, but I know it's scale, but I think it's also probably true because if you look in the Greyhawk box set, if you look at a pull-out or I don't know what you'd call it,
Centerfold?
world, no, more of a world-sized map, and it
Centerfold
shows where the Flyness is, which is what the Darlene maps are. I mean, it's so much bigger. It's basically like looking at Europe when you look at the Darlene maps. That's about the general size, correct, Mike? I'm not too far off there.
Right.
I mean, it's like going from Spain to the Urals, maybe.
The difference between those two maps, they were both works of art, but the best maps you want to have a balance, and that's why the Greyhawk maps have the hex overlay. Now, the original Forgotten Realm maps, which were just as nice quality, came with, I don't know if anyone remembers, but they came with a clear, like a Mylar overlay of hexes.
Yeah.
So, they knew that you needed some utility to go with those really pretty maps.
See, I like the overlay idea better.
Yeah.
The maps that I like the most are like old nautical maps, like actual.
Those are called charts.
Okay, sure, nautical charts, nautical maps, whatever. But
They're charts when they're water. They're maps when they're
Shut up, Mark.
I'm being trolled on my own podcast. Thank you, literal internet. But those didn't have these, the arbitrary hex because they didn't.
necessarily need 'em.
Because when you create a map and you have your hexes built in, you're giving an exact measure of distance. Whereas old nautical charts, as I now understand them to be called, proportions were all out of whack.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that lends a character and a charm that most fantasy maps don't have.
Actual nautical charts. You also had sometimes as many as I think 3 different prime meridians to cope with. You had the Greenwich mean, you had the papal prime meridian, which if you were Catholic, you used the Vatican City as the prime meridian. And then there was, at one point, the Jesuits had been exiled from the church, and their prime meridian was Galileo's tower where he had his observatory.
Wow.
And that's where they set the prime
Where he had
meridian.
his spaceship.
Everyone wants to be
Make
the
no
center.
mistake. Yeah.
So you look at an old map and you don't know who made the map and where he came from.
Where zero is.
Right. You have no idea how to count distance.
So all of this gives me an idea for Mike.
Okay.
What to go in line with my thought process. I like the idea of take the world of Greyhawk and you have however many primary races or cultures. Each one of them would probably have their own map of the world.
That would be interesting.
So Mike, you should do a all
Me?
yes, an all map
All-centric.
Yes, an all-centric map of Greyhawk.
I have done that, Dan.
But did you do it?
Dun, dun, dun.
No, I'm talking like the people of all drew a map of Greyhawk, and you've done this.
Yes, it was a map of all that was way out of proportion with the rest of the map because they thought
All's
they
the
were
center
bigger.
of the,
Yes.
Of course. Well, yeah, and that's the point.
I know what
is-
you're talking about.
Yeah,
Well, I've had this fantasy since probably junior high school
this is going down a dark path.
It's about that blonde.
Stop now.
of taking an actual globe and putting Greyhawk on that globe.
I thought
You know,
Earth was flat.
well, it probably is. I don't know. Is it flat?
No,
It's round.
not.
They believe
There
it
are
to be-
people trying to do that.
There are people trying to
Yes,
do that.
there's-
Can we? What's that
there's
called? Can we
programs
link to that?
Do they have a Kickstarter?
I
They
don't
need
know
one.
much about
Yeah.
3D globe.
Greyhawk is believed to be flat until you get to D20 Modern, and then they know it's round.
That's right.
I think probably my favorite map, though, throughout the years has probably been the map from the Greyhawk City box set. You remember that, Mike?
Uh-huh.
Did it actually showed like buildings.
It actually had two different maps. Well, I mean, I guess you'd call one was a map and the other was more of a painting. One was a map that actually, you're right, Eric, showed every building in the city. And then the other one was basically a painting, almost like an aerial shot of the city, from an angle, but it still showed the entire length, and
One
a lot
was
of
utility
detail.
and one was
Yeah.
A piece
work
of art, right.
Yeah.
L5R was great for that, especially back in first edition.
A lot of the role playing games online now are coming out with a lot better maps too.
Yes.
Yeah,
like
and I'm glad you
Skyrim.
mentioned that because that was something I was going to bring up.
That new Skyrim game.
Yeah.
It's like high quality paper and it is a great looking
Oh,
map.
you're talking about an actual physical map.
An
Okay.
actual physical
Oh,
map.
Okay, because I
It's
was going
like
to actually talk
really
about
nice.
the importance of maps in video games or MMOs. You can't get anywhere in
No.
a video game
Without a
a
map.
map. If
Yeah.
you can't cut away to your map, back in the old days, and I'm showing my age here, there was the text-based role-playing games, Zork and things like that. And I remember having to map out things on
Graph paper. Yep.
because I was always getting lost. Nowadays, you don't have to do that because you have inset maps, you have map buttons to push and things like that.
A map right there in your HUD overlay.
Right. So,
Yeah.
in games, it's, those
Compasses on
maps.
your-
And you can have a bad map in a game and it can totally mess you up. Or you can have
Oh, yeah.
a really nice map that's really detailed.
Well, I'm talking about like that.
Arkham City.
That new Skyrim map is awesome. I mean, it's like nice enough. I'd like to frame it.
It is
It's-
frameable. Yeah.
It is a really pretty map.
The first game map I ever saw was a computer RPG map for an old late 80s, early 90s Lord of the Rings game.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Bard's Tale.
No, it was Lord of the Rings, and that was the first time I ever saw the map of Middle Earth. That's
Really?
right there. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because I'd seen the old cartoons, but I never read the books. I never read the books until much later in life. I still haven't completely read them.
I'll tell you what, talking about Middle Earth, they did an atlas of Middle
Oh, yeah.
Earth.
I own it.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
Same guy who did the Forgotten Realms
Yes,
Atlas, I believe.
Forgotten Realms, yeah, same person.
Same woman,
Same woman.
I'm sorry. Apologies.
Do you know who that is, Mike?
Karen Wynn Fonstad. She's dead now, though.
Oh, that sucks.
Pour one out for her
And one for Karen.
and one for Karen.
But yes, those were beautiful maps. All right, then, Mike, who today would you recommend as a good map cartographer?
The person who recommended the topic, Anna Meyer.
You totally missed an opportunity for self-plugging, Mike.
Oh, no, I am not a good mapper. By no
Doesn't
means.
matter.
I see. Now I'm not.
You're talking about the guy that will use the same room on a piece of paper.
Well, that's for consistency.
9 different rooms.
That's for consistency's sake.
And that's me.
being a lazy bastard, Mike.
It's low
utility.
investment. Low investment.
Yes.
Dan would say.
I can make nice maps, as you've seen. But
We have
chooses
to.
not to.
We have to.
choose not to.
We have to make the game paper last until August.
That's right. Till we can stock up again.
No, Anna Meyer is.
We have 2 game mats. We have 2.
She runs a site, Atlas of the Flanneus, and she has a Facebook group, the Flanneus Cartographic Society.
Her maps are awesome.
Okay.
They're
She's-
wonderful.
Yeah, I pulled up her site. It was late last week, and whenever it's full, when it's finally full and complete, that will look gorgeous.
And
Printed out on my plotter.
Now I've never been to her site. I've never seen her work. Is she doing things like freehanding this, or how does she?
She uses a suite of programs. I even had to take some notes on this one.
Mike's embarrassing us with his preparation.
He's showing